I'm a black male. As I openly identify with that, socially and physically, I feel compelled to refute any prejudices of my background. I'm conscious of my appearance when walking through neighborhoods. I try not to wear hoodies or baseball caps in fear of being labeled a thug. I did not have a tough upbringing, and rap is my second favorite genre.
I am an Asian male. To the person who asked me if I was studying engineering or math, I am not. To the person who asked if I play the piano, I do not. To the person who asked if I have ever eaten exotic food types before, I have not.
In Canada, we pride ourselves in our multiculturalism and our inclusivity. So why do people still feel and are discriminated against?
According to a study conducted by the economist Philip Oreopoulos from the University of Toronto, job search discrimination is still a persistent issue. Interview request rates for English-named applicants with Canadian education and experience were more than 3 times higher compared to resumes with Chinese, Indian, and Pakistani names. With foreign education and experience, 5% versus 16%.
A study done by Statistics Canada states that the Aboriginal population is treated worse and lives with more hardships than African Americans. Alarmingly, Aboriginal people are 10 times more likely to be incarcerated in Canada than African Americans. With an Aboriginal unemployment rate of 14% compared to 11% for African Americans, Terry Galvin of the Ottawa Citizen has marked the idea that the United States could learn from Canada when it comes to racial harmony and justice.
It is evident that discrimination continues to linger in Canada, so we each have to take responsibility for its presence. We can not only play the victim, but need to realize the significant role we play that contributes to the overall issue. We have to admit to our own faults in being the victimizer as well. Discrimination of any kind that's allowed to exist in a society, however innocent it may seem, can add to a much bigger system of discrimination.
Although sometimes I personally feel discriminated against, I am not without blame. I have too consciously and unconsciously participated in discrimination, laughing at inappropriate racial jokes and attaching ethnicities to specific faculties, treating someone based on my perception, seeing them only through my lens, rather than taking the time to get to know them. I believe each of us does this in our own way, and the sum of these actions can negatively affect our society.
We must come together to acknowledge our own shortcomings in this arena. To the person who cut me off in traffic, it was wrong for me to judge you by the color of your skin, because you may have been rushing to the hospital for your child. To the person who was loud in the library, it was wrong for me to judge you by the color of your skin, because you may have been excited about your brother's wedding. To the person who gave poor service in the restaurant, it was wrong for me to judge you by the color of your skin, because you may have been going through a tough breakup.
Jeffrey Wrights, a professor at the University of Toronto who studies ethnic diversity, believes that if you asked people, are blacks experiencing discrimination, they might shrug to you and say, yeah, probably. But since it is not something that concerns them directly, it is often treated as somebody else's problem. Wrights goes on further to state that Canadians have as part of their self-image the belief in being inclusive, open, multicultural, and Canadians are proud of that. It would be inconsistent to then believe that there is pervasive discrimination in Canada.
It is time for us to deal with the problem. We cannot continue to filter people through our own set of lenses, but we must view the problem from a social lens. We must make a united effort to recognize our own prejudice and consider people for who they are rather than who we perceive them to be. This is not a singular issue, but it is actually 2 sides to the same coin.
Society is a group of individuals living together, and it's through the efforts of each individual that problems can be solved. As a member of the Canadian society, we cannot define issues as someone else's problem. We are both victim and victimizer, affected by the problems, yet also the cause. To end the forms of discrimination that exist, we need to stop them within ourselves and voice our intolerance of them within our social groups, families, and communities. Through these small changes, we would finally be able to say that in Canada, people are judged only by the content of their character and not the color of their skin.
Created using Powtoon.